The first thing we're going to look at is what happens during the time when you're in the reception room. It's another one of those areas that we kind of neglect, we kind of don't think about in the interview process, but it's important because first impressions mean everything in the interview process. Once you have sullied that first impression, it's really difficult, I would say almost impossible, to change people's first reactions about you. So all these first impressions become very important, and the reception room is probably one of the first impressions. You go into the reception room, you probably walk up and you talk to the receptionist, whoever is greeting people as they come to the door. A lot of people think that that person has no power in the hiring process, but I can tell you that many employers will go up to the receptionist after the interview is over and ask them, what did you think of that person? And so the receptionist usually carries some power in the hiring process. So don't be rude, don't be mean, don't be snide or snippy or smart to them, but be respectful and professional at all times. Then you go, they usually will tell you, no matter how early you are, and if you need to be there about 10 or 15 minutes early, as we talked about before, what do you do during that time when you're waiting in the reception room? You almost always have a period of time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, when you're in the reception room before the interview begins, the reception area. What do you do during that time? You notice that the person sitting in the reception area is reading a magazine, so sort of biding their time. But what happens when they're doing that? Well, people tend to want to read magazines and stuff in reception rooms because it helps to eliminate some of the anxiety they might be feeling about the interview, which is fine on the surface. But what they do when they read the magazine is that they are disconnecting themselves from the reality of what's happening in the reception room. There are people walking by, there are people whose presence that they're basically ignoring, and they lose sight of that. So what some people will do, instead of reading magazines, will be sit there and go over their resume or their their interview material and that kind of stuff. And once again, while that may be good from one respect, it may help you get prepared a little bit better, I would venture to tell you that interviewing is sort of like taking a test, and if you're not prepared by now, you're never going to be prepared. And it also disconnects you from the reality of the room. In public schools, there's a phrase for students, being on task. And this is where the same kind of behavior comes from. I want you to exhibit, while you're in the reception room, on-task behaviors. And what that means is I want you to stay engaged in the room. I want you to acknowledge people's presence. That doesn't mean you have to pick up a conversation with everybody that you meet. It doesn't mean that you have to get their life histories. But a simple smile and acknowledgement of their existence goes a long way in helping create that positive first impression. So use that reception room time to develop that first impression.